Okay.
Okay. Mhm. Hi, Jordan. How are you today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. How has this week been?
Oh, it's it's already been a rough one. I'm not gonna lie. It's been a little crazy, but I mean, handling it. So that's the best I could do, right? So
Yeah. How
yeah,
how was your Monday today? What went on? Are you still currently working from home? What is your situation right now?
yeah. I actually work for a school district, and so I'm an essential worker. But my position is a little different. I'm not a teacher. I'm not an admin or anything like that. I'm a extended learning program coordinator. So we provide for students after school, like different programs. And my position is very frontline. So going from that to being virtual, it's kind of really difficult. So each week, it's kind of just something different. And this Monday, I was kind of like back to back. I participated in like back to back meetings, so it's a little overwhelming. I'm not gonna lie. Like going from, like I said, frontline to virtual is just it's a little intense. So just still getting the hang of it. I mean, still kind of getting into routine and figuring everything out because I feel like everything's trial and error. So it's
Yeah,
kind of
it's definitely a new experience for a lot of people trying to just learn how to communicate with students, and especially if you say your position is a frontline position in which you are interacting with the students. So what do you think makes it difficult to be working from home right now, or what makes your job difficult with it?
Um, well, first and foremost, what makes it difficult is I get lazy. So I'm not gonna lie. Like I being at home, it's you have the comfort of your room right there, the kitchen right there. I feel like not being able to get into routine, usually you wake up, you get ready, you go to work, you have that like, okay, experience if I have to go. And right now I don't experience that because obviously we can't go anywhere. So that's really difficult. I think the second part is the fact of all of us, including our students, really getting into that, I guess, getting used to the environment of like the virtual world. Like because there's so much, I guess, push from teachers, from probably their counselors and admin and whoever else on campus, they're pushing like this Zoom meeting and this Google Hangouts and this, like, I feel like our students are really just checked out, and so getting in contact with our students, especially the ones who we know really need it, um, I feel like that's my biggest struggle is like, how, am I going to fail my kids, my regulars, the kids who I don't even know yet, am I failing them because I can't reach them? So I think that that's one of the biggest things that I guess kind of takes a toll on me because I just think about it all the time. So, um, and I think, anyone in my district really understands that our population of students, like, they have such a full plate already. Like, these kids are taking care of their siblings. Some of them are working because their parents can't afford their rent or certain bills or things like that. So you already know that these kids come from troubled homes, and not all of them, but some of them, and their stories, that you're like, man, being at school was their escape, or being in my program was an escape, and not being able to always reach them, like, it's just kind of it's sad. It's a little sad. So
Yeah, I think, what I'm hearing is that it's a little bit overwhelming for you, but more than anything, I think you're feeling how overwhelmed your students can be at this point.
yeah.
Yeah. I think that that's something that maybe a lot of people are facing right now, just that uncertainty and them trying to figure out how to reach the students. I think that because of your position and, the day to day that you lead, it's really overwhelming for you to just be and to understand that sometimes at home it's going to be difficult, but a lot of these things are out of your control. And I think that, you're very empathetic to your students. So you're just kind of taking on that worry of what are my students going through right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because kind of like I mentioned, like I really do think that we're an escape for a lot of our kids. And I have a separate phone for work specifically. So I have kids that text me, and it's so different having that communication in person and having it via text or like over the phone, or like virtual, like Zoom and Google Hangouts. Like it's just such a different connection, and you just wish, like, man, if this is what they're talking to me about, like via text or email or whatever the case is, I could just imagine, the conversations we would be having like in person, um, because like I said, I mean, a lot of our kids, and this is everywhere. I know that everywhere a lot of kids deal with a lot, but these kids just have a lot on their plate, and it's, how are you supposed to be there for them and not be able to be there for them, So I feel like a lot of our kids are checked out. So it feels like that. I don't know.
Yeah, but do you still mention that some of them still text you and still connect with you in that way? Because I'm sure that they feel comfortable reaching out for you in case they need anything, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've definitely, not to toot my own horn, but I've definitely done my due diligence in really getting to know my students on a personal basis. So, these kids come and talk to me about anything and everything. Obviously, there's a lot of things they don't want to talk about, but some things, yeah, they feel comfortable being able to text me, um, and let me know if they're struggling, or if they're just having a bad day, or things like that. So, yeah.
That's good. It seems like your students know that they trust you and they feel that you are approachable and they have that open communication with you in which they feel comfortable. Um,
Yeah.
and how about when you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed? How do you feel that you are able to handle that?
Oh, girl, it's not about me. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, I feel like I know a lot of strategies of coping, like how to cope with certain things. I work out. I try to work out every morning, so um, I kind of can relieve some stress, because sometimes I get a little. I think I overwhelm myself. So sometimes, like working out, even going for a run, just kind of like helps me like relax that adrenaline that I feel, because I do feel kind of just like not at ease. Um, Honestly, I think that's kind of it. I don't really have that many coping mechanisms. Um, I know I do attend like virtual church service every Sunday, and that really helps me. So I do like to listen to like my worship music. Not that I'm the perfect Christian, because I'm not, but I do find that I find peace when I get connected with God, and when I really just kind of like open myself up to, I guess, being vulnerable, like in God's presence. So I don't know if that makes sense, but I guess that's when, like, those are my two coping mechanisms. But other than that, I mean, not really. I don't think I'm one person to really face them head on. Occasionally, but no. I mean, I know all the right things, but I don't think I always do the right things.
Well, I think, definitely those two things that you do right now to relieve some stress are definitely healthy ones, and they are things that, make you feel better in a healthy way. And it is you consciously choosing to do those things, because it takes a lot to work out and it takes a lot to sometimes maybe you're not feeling in the mood to go to church or to listen to the word, but just kind of pushing yourself to do that will definitely make you feel a lot better at the end.
Yeah.
So it's good to know that you have those two things. Have you been able to continue like your workout routine and your church routine during this time right now that you've been home?
No. So before everything happened, I was actually on a really good journey to getting healthier. Um, excuse me, I was working out at least 5 to 6 times a week. Usually I would aim for my 5, but occasionally I do my 6. I was eating really healthy, food that would just energize me. I stopped a lot of just food that didn't make me feel good. Um, I was going to church regularly as well. But now I do experience a lot of just, um, I guess I just really do feel overwhelmed that when I wake up, I don't sleep at night. So at night, I think it takes me, I could be in bed by like 10, and then I will not go to sleep till probably 2 in the morning, maybe. That's sometimes that's like a good night. If I really am not having a good night, I will not go to sleep till probably 3. And then my work schedule, I'm meant to be available from 9 to 6. So sometimes I will not wake up till 8:30. And luckily, thank God I'm home. So I can just kind of like take a quick shower and get ready. But even then, it's usually just like very casual dress, obviously. But yeah, like, so, but I can't really work out in the morning, and then by the time, my day ends, I'm kind of just like, oh, I don't want to work out, like, I'm over it, like, I've been home all day, I just want to sit outside or just watch Netflix or anything like that. So I would say I work out at least 3 times a week, so that is kind of a big difference because it's kind of cut in half. And then my eating habits aren't great. And then church, like, I find it difficult because I can't just sit there, like, I find it very hard for me to like, I don't mind watching a Netflix show, but like sitting there and putting on like a live service, like, it's like, how am I supposed to get into this worship here? Like, how am I supposed to get into the service if I'm like in bed or on the couch, or like, can I eat breakfast while I'm watching it? Like, is that rude? Like, I guess I'm just an overthinker with everything, at least in terms of church. So yeah, I guess to answer your question, no, I'm not really in the same routine at all. I guess I'm kind of all mixed up.
Which again is understandable. I mean, it's really a confusing time for a lot of people. I'm sure, you're overwhelmed with work, you're overwhelmed with being at home and working, you're a little overwhelmed, well, a lot overwhelmed just thinking about your students. And
Yeah.
again, it's taking a toll on what you used to do to make you happy or to enjoy your day. I definitely think that, even though you're not maybe working out every day of the week and you're not feeling able to connect with the church service, you are still practicing some other coping skills because sometimes it's okay to just sit and watch Netflix for a day.
Yeah.
I think that maybe you feel like your mind is running, like you said, you're overwhelmed with work, with the Zoom meetings nonstop today.
Yeah.
It's understandable if once, you were done with work today, you were like, I'm gonna sit outside and I'm gonna watch a movie. That's
Mhm.
okay. It's okay to do those things and
Mhm.
kind of reset yourself and not have to think about things that stress you out.
Yeah.
And then also, what I heard you mention was, um, I don't know how am I supposed to feel with church? Like, is it okay to eat breakfast? I don't,
Yeah.
like at the end, it is your choice. You're in the comfort of your own home, and I
Mhm.
don't think that it makes it wrong because it's not like you're not listening or paying attention. But
Mhm.
I can see how maybe that faulty perspective of, oh, this is going to be frowned upon because you never want to show up to church with your breakfast and eat it in service.
Yeah.
So it's understandable, but I think that those are still two things that maybe it decreased, but you definitely haven't cut it out because they are good strategies to kind of um, help you feel a little bit more at peace. So
Yeah.
I know that you mentioned that your sleeping schedule is all messed up. What do you think is causing that?
Um, you know, I don't know, but I've never really had an issue with falling asleep. Like, I did a long time ago, about 2 years ago, when I went through something really traumatic. But um, I mean, but even then, I was able to find peace within it. So So yeah, for me to really struggle with sleeping, it's like rare. Like it doesn't happen for me. Like I don't want to say I always have like a regular sleep schedule because I don't. I mean, there's days I like to binge, Netflix. Um, but for the most part, I'm usually asleep before 11 o'clock, maybe 11 o'clock, like especially on the weekdays. But um yeah, I don't know I don't know if just knowing I don't have to get up and get ready to go to work, or I don't know if it is the overwhelming concern of just overall like work, because I feel like not only am I could potentially fail my students, but I could fail my staff. So I oversee 7 other staff, and I'm their supervisor. So, I'm kind of the head of like, well, what are we providing for students? How is this going to work? And, I feel like I need to know all the answers, but I don't, because this is new. Like I said, we're frontline. Like we don't really do virtual things. Like we're all like face to face, hands-on learning. That going from that to virtual, like they're looking at me for assistance, and I'm kind of like, I'm learning too, because I feel like maybe that might be one of my biggest, I guess, stressors that keeps me up. And maybe it doesn't, I don't know. But now that I'm, I guess, talking about it, it seems like, yeah, because, I've, even in meetings that I have with them, like, I'm like, bear with me, guys. Like, I feel like I always have to tell them that, because I don't want to look like a failure or like I don't know what I'm doing, but I really don't know what I'm doing. Because, I mean, I'm sure teachers and counselors and so many people feel the same way, because it's so new, and then getting student retention's like super low, so you always feel like, I guess, you're failing, and I guess that's what I don't want to feel like. And yeah, because I mean, I've definitely failed in a lot of areas in my life, like the list goes on, but I think knowing that you're failing people, I think, feels worse, and even though I'm probably not, but it definitely feels like I am, you know
Yeah, well, I definitely don't think you're failing them. I mean, you bringing it up in a therapy session where you could be talking about other things, like your biggest struggle is, how do I care for these people? How do I meet their needs? But I also think it's very important to see if you're meeting your own needs, because your own mental health is very important. And one of the things that I always like to share is the face mask in an airplane. They tell you
Mhm.
to go ahead and place it on yourself first before you can place it on others. And I
Mhm.
think that, if their boss is maybe like having a really bad night's sleep, if their boss is feeling anxious about things, it definitely, I don't think that they're seeking a lot of things, but if you are in that position, then it would make it harder for you to meet their needs. And again, you have to remember that you're not going to meet everybody's needs, because this is a new time. It's like you mentioned, this has never ever happened.
Yeah.
So it's about being kind to yourself and saying, I'm sure that your staff, well, I'm sure that your staff are looking for answers, but it's okay to tell your staff, like, I don't have all the answers. And like you mentioned, bear with me. um I do think that you shouldn't need to apologize every time about it, because it's something that, as they're coming, you're informing them, but they shouldn't expect all the answers from you at all times, even
Yeah.
though you're their supervisor. And maybe that's a little bit difficult to understand, but as a person, you kind of have to have that little space of you being that, under like, the room for growth.
Mhm.
I understand that people sometimes are learning things as they go as well, and
Yeah.
need to be kind. And I think overall, it's just about being kind to others, but being kind to yourself as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's why I've tried to keep some of my like coping mechanisms, like working out, and attending church. I just find it very hard, like, nowadays, because I guess the being able to go to the gym, or being able to go for a hike or go for a run, you know, I'm pretty sure people are like, I don't know, I feel like people are judging people for going for runs or doing things like that. Um, you know, but I also think there's only, especially like, you know, someone like me who doesn't have the equipment, any kind of gym equipment at home, like there's only so much you could do sometimes. You know, it probably sounds like an excuse to some extra gym goers or whatever, but you know, I think that's also what gets me like not as motivated as that. You know, I feel like being just stuck scares me. Like I think that's always been a big fear of mine, is being stuck. So right now I'm like stuck at home. You know, I'm stuck in this like little space, given I'm grateful for my home and everything, but like, you know, you're stuck. You can't go out, and if you do, it's like frowned upon. And you know, I feel like I'm not able to escape, you know, just have that little space that's just for me, because being in your room or, you know, being outside or anything, like it doesn't free you the way it does. Like I like going to the beach and just relaxing, or I like going for a walk or for hikes, or even going to the gym like I mentioned. Like, or I'm not gonna lie, a little retail therapy, like I love it, you know, like I love Target, and just being able to escape by myself really just lets me like relax, and I haven't been able to do that. So I feel like everything else just gets harder to do because I can't do that little extra escape, you know?
Yeah, from what I'm hearing, like you fear of just not just the physical aspect, but you feel like you're stuck. Like I want to do more than I am able to do. But
Yeah.
you have to take into consideration and remember that everybody's stuck. Everybody's
Hmm.
stuck right now. And
Yeah.
I think, sometimes the expectation on like social media or even friends or family, like, oh, well, during this time, I'm doing all of this and I'm learning this and I learned a new language and I learned this. And it's okay if you're not.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you surviving and being okay is going to be enough. You're going to have those days where you're like, today I really don't feel like doing much. And it's
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to maybe instead of going for an intense workout, just going out for a walk around your block, getting some fresh air and doing that. But, we shouldn't have to be expected to do all of these things right now just because everybody feels like, well, you have the free time.
Hmm.
Who dictates your time and whether it's free time or not?
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know, So I think that we have that kind of like societal pressure of maybe on social media, you can see all these people doing all of these things, and you're like, well, today all I did was get ready.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels like
Okay.
that's not enough sometimes, you
It's
know?
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are
Like,
some other things that you do that make you feel at peace besides working out and church? Because I feel, those are great things to do, but sometimes they can feel like a task. Is there
yeah.
any other thing that you do that maybe feels a little more effortless or something that puts you at peace but isn't going to the next level?
Um, I guess two things kind of come to mind. The first one would be I actually really love reading, believe it or not. I don't feel like I look like a reader or seem like a reader at all, but I actually, the moment I find a good book, like I do like to read, and it kind of takes me out of my element. Um, so I mean, now I'm just kind of thinking out loud. I probably could. I mean, I just bought like two books, so I probably should start reading them. I just haven't. I've been finding every excuse in the book not to. I'm in the book. Coincidence. Every reason not to start them, but I think both of them are actually really influential to what I'm feeling and what I could do to make good changes, I guess. So I could start reading again. I know that wasn't really your question, but just
No,
kind
but
of
what?
um, but also, I guess one thing that kind of gets me, I guess, feeling at peace or just feeling, I guess, calm. Um, is actually being with my family, like as much as like they drive me nuts. Um, like yesterday we just we made burgers and we watched this show that I'm obsessed with, so I'm watching it again. Um, and with my sister, we were watching it together, and honestly I just felt like really calm, like I wasn't thinking about anything, I wasn't really overwhelmed. So I guess yes, my family, but I think just being around people who like genuinely care about you, and then I guess knowing you genuinely care about them too, I guess that just brings a sense of peace and just calmness, I guess, that I won't have to feel like throughout the week. Like it was a good way to end my week but start my week because it was a Sunday, so like a good little balance. um but yeah, I guess, I mean, just being around my family, I mean, I'm really close to my family, so I mean, we have our moments, don't get me wrong, because they drive me nuts, and I'm sure vice versa, I drive them nuts, but I think at the end of the day we're really close. And I think we sense each other too, like we feed off of each other, and we read each other really well. um and we also, like, I feel like balance each other out in a certain way. So I guess just having that family time, which obviously is limited right now because of everything going on, but just having a little bit of that just feels really good. So
That's good. So it sounds like you have a really good support system at, at home within your family. You feel at peace with them. You feel like you can let them. And it's good that you mentioned like you guys have that balance where,
mhm.
you are able to tell them I'm feeling this way, but I feel like from what you mentioned, maybe they can also read you when you're not feeling that way and you don't want to say it.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a open book without wanting to be an open book.
Which is understandable. I mean, I think everybody sometimes has those boundaries on what they want to share and what they don't want to share, and that's
Mhm.
completely okay. I think we are the narrators of our own story, so we get to decide what we want to share with people, and ultimately, it's good that your family can be that support system for you. Are they also um, how have they been feeling with all of this, or how have your interactions with them been lately?
um I mean, I think average. I mean, I think we definitely get on each other's nerves because we just all think differently. And some people are type A and I'm very type B. I mean, I could be a little type A, but I think some of us like to go with the flow while the others are very like um, nitpicky with everything. Um, I mean, I think kind of just jumping off of like we do balance each other out because I think, and we read each other because I think when we all know when we all need our space. Um, so overall, like, I mean, if I were to give you like a number 1 to 10, like it'd be like a 7 because it's not horrible, but it's not great. No, like a 6. No, like a 7. I mean, we have our moments, like I said, but I think we all also feel the same things. Like my sister and I, we are complete opposites, like complete opposites. Like we, oh my gosh. But we were both feeling really down in the dumps when the weather last week was really rainy and cold, like to the point where both of us didn't want to get out of bed. Like we were just not in the mood. So it was weird that we were synced like that. But what was really kind of like, I guess, eye opening, but not eye opening enough for me to really do anything about it, was the fact like she was able to get out of bed and like make the best of her day. And I was kind of like, no, I'm gonna stay in bed, like I was just not feeling it. And that was last week or the week, Easter Sunday. It was Easter Sunday, which was even worse that I was feeling that way. But I just didn't, it was really depressing, like the weather, but it was interesting, I guess, how we both felt very like depressed. Like, and given I don't want to use that term so loosely, but it really felt like we didn't want to get out of bed. Like we just felt so miserable. Like, and it could have been the weather. It could have just been our thoughts. I don't know. It could have been a little bit of everything, but yeah, it was so weird how we were like synced like that. But I think the biggest thing, like, and like I said, now that I'm saying it out loud, like I guess the fact that she was able to get up and just make the best of her day while I was kind of like dwelling in that like emotion, which is weird. now I think about it.
No, but again, everybody kind of copes differently. And some people are able to bounce back super quick, where it can take others a little bit more time, and that's completely normal. You know, um, I think that when you said depressed, like you said, you didn't want to use it lightly, but I mean, you could kind of see it as a a little minor episode of it, because like you said, it was the weather, and it was a combination of a lot of things probably for you, just the changes with work, how you felt that week, whether that week was a good week with work or whether it wasn't a good week, and just all the overwhelming feeling that you were having about everything else.
Yeah.
So I think maybe it was a little bit more difficult for you because maybe you felt like you had a little bit more on your plate than she did.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, now thinking back at it, like, I guess I felt like I almost didn't want to go back to work the next day. Like, I almost felt like I don't wanna even deal with work. I don't wanna deal with my supervisors. I don't wanna deal with, just the overall programming, like, because it's not anything against my students or my staff. Like, they're great. Like, I can't even say anything bad about any of them. I think it's the fact of, like, it's 10 times more work now that it makes me, and not that I'm lazy, because I don't want to sound like that, but, like, I guess just the fact, like, it's 10 times more work for a program that I don't even think is reaching the students it should be reaching. Like, it makes me just feel like, no, like, looking forward to work is like the worst thing ever. Like, now I'm like, I don't want to go to work. I don't want to wake up and do my day, but maybe I'm missing the students. Maybe I'm just missing, the FaceTime and being away from home. But yeah, it's just, I guess, yeah, thinking about it, it just seems like, I guess my misery is just work. Now it sounds really bad to say that, because I've actually never said that before. Well, I have before once, but or a few times, but
But I mean, it's understandable. Your whole work schedule, your whole work routine, your whole entire program shifted.
mm-hmm.
It's completely different.
Yeah.
And I know you mentioned, like, maybe you're missing the students, maybe you're missing the FaceTime, which could be it. Maybe you kind of feed off of their energy, and it's kind
Yeah.
of what reboots you and be like, this is what I do it for. So
Mm-hmm.
right now, since you don't have that visual of it, or you can't see it, and
Yeah.
then like you're saying, the population that you serve, you feel like students aren't being reached. It's even another barrier for you, because you're like, well, how do I know that these kids have access to me? I think that's your biggest thing.
Yeah. Exactly. So.
Have you I know you mentioned, like, I don't want to deal with my supervisors. How have you felt supported during this time? Because I mean, there's, you oversee someone, but I'm sure someone oversees you. So have they been supporting you? How have you felt with them?
A straight up no. um, I mean, that's the easiest way to put it. I think our directors like to play the part that they support us and are advocating for us, but I mean, what they say and what they do is completely different. Um, and I'm a part of a team with the other, we're called coordinators for the other schools that we work at. And we are all on the same page, where we feel like I said, they say one thing, but they really do another. I think a lot of their language, like via emails, is inappropriate. It's unprofessional. Um, they like to ask us to reach these deadlines that are given like an hour before. So occasionally, for example, like I think last week or the week before, I got an email at maybe 7:30 in the morning, which I don't start till 9, that I got an email that by 9:30 I needed to submit a form with so much information. And sometimes, like, technically I could start at 9:30. So for them to have these and this is something that's recurring. Like, it's not something that just started, it's something that they always do. Um they treat our staff very unfairly, I think, is the nicest way to put it. They like to call them just casual employees. I don't consider them casual employees because they're frontline with students, and there's nothing casual about that. Um, and yeah, I think they just I think like as a team, we like to ask questions just to one, be informed, two, make sure we're understanding everything they're saying. And it seems like when we ask questions, they get very, I don't know the right word for it, but I guess it almost seems like they get very offended and very like their walls are up and they, become very blunt and they're no longer transparent or they're no longer wanting to give us certain information. So they'll keep it very, very short, which kind of leaves us at like, well, what? Like, what does that mean? Or like, well, what are we supposed to do? Or what could that mean? We're a grant funded program. So there's obviously always questions at the end of every year. And it seems like, this year, there's just a lot of unknowns. And I think what bothers me the most is that it's not usually like that. So I guess one, dealing with change, but even then, like my supervisors and directors have been the same for the past five years. So there shouldn't really be that much change. Obviously there's growth and development. I definitely understand that, but the fact that, they're going from being transparent to being completely closed off, like that's a problem. Like to me, it looks like, well, what are you hiding? The attitude's very different. The vibe in meetings is very different. And it's all across. So we have three main director supervisors. One of them is the micromanager, which drives me insane, but what can I do? She's my manager, my supervisor. And she drives me a little nuts just because, like I said, she's a micromanager and she has to know every time I breathe, it seems like. So it's really frustrating because it seems like she doesn't understand the way our program works. And our program, we have to be very flexible because it's based off of student needs and student wants. And it seems like she doesn't understand that. I feel like at the end of the day, they're not advocating for the students. They're not really there for the students. Obviously I'm not in their shoes. I can't read their mind, but their actions speak otherwise. I don't think they really understand what it means to be there for students, and it could be their workload. It could be just things that have happened. I get it. But like, if you're going to be a leader for a group of individuals, like show up for them, and it just doesn't seem like they'll do that for us. So I know for a fact, like I have to do that for my staff because they won't do it for my staff. Like they won't even do it for me, so I guess just overall, like they're just, I don't know, they're just complete, like, I want to use bad language, but I probably shouldn't, but it just seems like their interest is just elsewhere, I guess. And I just think it's unfair. And I just think at this point, like they're in the wrong field at this point. Like if multiple people feel like your interest isn't in these kids or, your staff that are working for these kids, then you gotta go. Like, and not in a bad way, but like, grow, that's fine. Grow, do something else. But yeah, just it makes work a little miserable. Like knowing I have these meetings or knowing I have a check-in, like an individual check-in, it's like a drag. Like I try not to speak a lot. I give, what I need to give. I say what I need to say and I leave it at that. Like I don't like to go into details unless I have to. I know I sound kind of like, it seems like I'm probably rude in these things, but I'm not. I'm very respectful, and like I said, I answer what needs to be answered, but I keep it very blunt just because I just don't think they deserve it, because I don't know if they really genuinely care. It doesn't seem like they do. So I guess that's something that's really annoying that I'm dealing with at work.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think from what I'm hearing, it's something that it definitely changed. And it's not just, the change from going virtual. or going remote, but now the change is someone who used to be very open with where a program was at and where it was going is no
Mhm.
longer doing that. And that's really difficult because you are an advocate. You aren't just an advocate for your students, you're an advocate for your staff.
Yeah.
And you feel like these people, my supervisors, aren't supporting me, but they're still expecting me to meet their needs and meet their demands.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I have conversations with, like, after we have our official meeting, like with our bosses, like our team, like we'll meet and we have to debrief because we'll be like, well, did you hear the way she said that, or did you notice that she didn't even really give us a why or a legit answer? And we're all just kind of like so confused as to like, why is this happening? Or they'll ask us, they'll demand us to do certain, like ABCD, but yet, you know 1 2 3 4 are no longer options, like to get ABCD done or whatever, like, if that makes sense. It made sense in my head the way I said it. But I guess just getting things done, but having so many like barriers that we can't, and they're not really helping us, and they want to say they are. And I actually, it's interesting that you use the word advocating, and I'm pretty sure I said it earlier, but I feel like now our directors or supervisors, they use it very loosely now, to where I even actually told my team, I said, I feel like hearing the word advocate or advocating from them, it means nothing to me now, because it seems so insincere that I don't even believe it. So the moment they say that, I on like automatically check them out, because um it just doesn't seem sincere. And I just think, like, if you're not going to be sincere, don't even say it at that point. um because I mean, it just sounds like gibberish at that point, and it sounds like repetitive, and it sounds scripted, and that bothers me. So, and I feel like when you work in education, for the most part, you have, like, depending obviously where you work and depending situations, I get it, because there's politics involved and stuff, but like, I feel like you have to be very organic, and you have to really be coming from, a sincere place. And with them, like I said, it just doesn't seem like it's sincere at all. So
Yeah, I think that that's definitely what I got from you, that you don't feel like they're being honest and you feel like they're keeping things from you when they should be transparent,
yeah.
especially when you have staff that you want to be transparent to. And
Yeah,
the last
exactly.
thing that it seems like you would hate is that they give you something so last minute or so abrupt, and you're just like, how do I tell my staff this?
Hmm.
Has that happened?
Yeah, actually, when we first, so school closures happened, I think it was March 13th, I believe, that we got the final, like, schools are officially closed. Um, yeah, it was March 13th. And then, so we were told um, that Monday that we were all supposed to, still attend work, because students weren't going to be there. So we were allowed to attend. But that meant creating work for staff, and then myself, obviously. Um, but then that Monday, so my staff came in that Monday, and they were great. We were talking about what we wanted to plan, and so many things. And I remember right before they were going to leave, they all got an email, and they said, as of today, like, I don't remember the exact language, but basically they said, like, as of, like, this day, you will no longer be working with no pay. You will basically, like, not be working with zero pay, with no pay, because you are a casual employee. And I know I mentioned that earlier. And that really bothered me, because I felt like, one, not that it needed to go through me for approval, because obviously I'm technically no one, like, within the district, but like, it would have been nice for us to know, so we could give that message to staff, because the message in that email, like, was very, very frustrating. Like, it just made it seem like like they were nothing, like, oh, sorry, you're a casual employee, you're done, you're cut, you know. And like I mentioned, like they're not casual employees. Like these individuals, you know, build relationships with students. They talk about really tough like topics, and they've had to call CPS before. They've had to, you know, had these crazy intense conversations about anything, like abuse, about family problems, about alcohol, drugs, you know, worrying about, you know, the future, college, career, etc., anything like that. Like so many different things. Like that's not a casual employee, you know, like. And so um yeah, so they've just done things like that where it just seems like their best interest isn't for our staff. It seems like it's just for them. So um so yeah, I don't know, they're just really frustrated. They just frustrate me. Like they're
Yeah.
just really
I think that, you know, what I'm getting, the main thing is that you're frustrated. You're
yeah.
frustrated in this space that you're in, not just physical space, but that mental space. And I
Hmm.
think that you need to be really kind to yourself. It's very important for you to put yourself first. And I think that from what I hear, you have a lot of pressure from your supervisors that you're trying to place your staff and your students before you, because you're
Hmm.
trying to kind of meet their needs. But are you meeting your own needs? You know, like, are you able to sleep? Are you feeling content, or are you feeling at ease? What
Hmm.
you should, because, and I think it's also very difficult because you said you were an after school program, so maybe you're trying to run your schedule around maybe that time too. So you're
Hmm.
busy a longer term of the day where your day can maybe be extending way past your actual end time because you're trying to close up what you did the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely feel like I have really long days. Um, because especially being at home, I mean, it seems like they never end. Like being at work, like it never felt like a long day, like being physically there. Mainly because like I was able to have my lunch and leave campus if I need to, and then I would always open the door for lunchtime, so all my kids would come in. So that'd be about like 45 minutes of my day, you know, like chatting with them and you know all that stuff. So yeah, I guess yeah, I mean, I definitely feel pressured. And I mean, I mean, it's hard for me to admit, I guess, but yeah, I think I don't put myself first. I think I definitely like to put others first, like in all areas of my life. Um, I guess it's just something I have to work on, but oh my God, I didn't really like saying that. Um, but yeah, I mean, I guess it's there, it's happening, it's in my head, so it's gonna be there.
No,
So
but I think that you're cognizant of this, and that I think is the biggest thing and the biggest step where you can kind of see yourself and say, I'm really not placing myself where I should place
mm,
myself, and I'm not establishing those boundaries. And I think that right now, with the working remotely from home, that is major, whether it's boundaries on where your work area is going to be, or boundaries on making sure you take your 30-minute lunch, because some days I'm sure you probably just work through your day and don't have a breakfast, don't have a lunch, don't have a dinner. And it's very important. So I think that that's maybe something that you should try and focus on this week, on setting those boundaries of, from this time to this time, I'm going to focus on that. And from this time to this time, I'm going to do what makes me happy. And whether it's the 30 minutes of the day where you feel like, I'm going to go for a walk, I'm going to spend time with my family, I'm going to watch a quick Netflix episode,
mhm.
something that kind of just lets you get your mind off of things, because it's very important for you to be able to kind of wind yourself down and be able to pick back up the next time.
Yeah, I actually sat outside today for about like 30 minutes just to, because it was nice and warm. So I just went out to get some sun. And it felt really nice. So I could just imagine when I start, doing other little things that just make me feel nice. I guess that's the best way to put it, is just feeling like, okay, it's like a breath of fresh air, like whatever I'm doing. Cause I think I was probably out there for 20 minutes, if that. And it did feel nice. Like, and I usually always have like music on or anything like that, but I didn't. Like, I literally just sat there, and it felt really good. So, I mean, I could see that a little bit of 20 minutes if I expanded that a little more, and,
Yeah, or
more.
maybe if you go and have your lunch outside.
Mm-hmm.
It's your time, you're eating, you're still going to go back to work, but you're able to sit out there and be still. And I
Mm-hmm.
also think, you mentioned that you really enjoyed reading. I think that maybe those are some things that you can also try um,
Mm-hmm.
to pick up this week, and just maybe a few pages before you go to bed to see if that'll also kind of help you. Um, I always heard that sleeping before bed can make you sleepy, and sometimes I have that problem where I'm reading and then I'm not reading. But it's a good thing because you're able to kind of just step away from you and envision the book. I think that that's the biggest thing, where you are doing something that you have no control over, and you're just kind of diving into it. So I think those are maybe some good things that you can try this week, and let me know next week how they work out for you, if you're able to pick up a good book, or if you're able to enjoy more of your lunch times outside,
Mm-hmm.
or just taking those 20 minutes out of the day for yourself.
Yeah, I'll definitely. I mean, I'm probably gonna for sure read my books because they're good ones. I know they're good ones. I just need to start reading them. So,
And sometimes the hardest thing is just getting started, because
exactly.
once you enjoy it, you're going to want to read it. So I think that those are two things that we will definitely be focusing on this week, and then we can follow up next week to see how you felt about it.
All right, that sounds good.
Okay.
I'll let you know.
Okay, Miss Jordan. Well, thank you so much, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you. Have a good one.